It's early March, 1945. The Western Front is still burning, but the end is in sight. Across Allied airfields in northern France, the war machine hums with routine. Patrols, reconnaissance, supply drops. Each flight measured and repeated, day after day. At a modest forward airstrip near Reims, a lone P-51 Mustang warms up in the cold morning light. At the controls is First Lieutenant Raymond Tucker, 23 years old, originally from Indiana, now a seasoned reconnaissance pilot. His Mustang looks sleek, even elegant, but it carries no guns. In place of its 6.50 caliber machine guns sits a high-resolution camera rig, mounted in the fuselage, loaded with fresh film. His mission this morning is routine. Fly a straight corridor near the German front, capture photographic data of roads, bridges, and any troop movement. He's done it a dozen times before. 2 hours in the air, back in time for lunch. Tucker takes off smoothly, rising into the gray sky over the Ardennes. He settles in at cruising altitude, checks his gauges. Everything reads normal, except for one thing, the compass. It swings lazily, then sticks. He taps the housing. No change. A faint vibration in the stick suggests it may have taken a knock on landing the day before. Still, Tucker isn't too worried. He knows the terrain, the landmarks. The cloud cover is patchy but manageable. He adjusts manually, relying on the sun and map overlays in his head. But half an hour later, the sky shifts. Low clouds roll in over the forests below. The horizon vanishes into gray. With the compass unreliable and no radio direction finder on board, standard for stripped-down recon planes, Tucker begins correcting instinctively, banking gently, adjusting headings based on guesswork. What should have been a straight patrol now drifts subtly off course. 10 miles, then 20. He flies on, unaware. Beneath him, the landscape begins to change. No longer the familiar patchwork of villages and hedgerows. Now, dense pine forests, winding rivers, long stretches of shadowed land, untouched by battle. He doesn't know it yet, but Lieutenant Tucker has just crossed an invisible threshold. He is flying where no Allied aircraft was supposed to be. And what he is about to see, no one would believe without proof. Lieutenant Tucker keeps flying, still believing he's tracking the edge of his assigned corridor. But with every passing minute, the ground beneath him grows more unfamiliar. Gone are the villages and rail spurs he's used to cataloging. Now it's uninterrupted forest, deep and thick, stretching in every direction. The sky above is a dull white. Cloud cover has thickened, pushing him lower. He scans the treetops, his eyes flicking between the fuel gauge and the horizon. He knows something's off, but there's no radio beacon to guide him, no nearby patrol to confirm his heading. Turning back is the safest choice. But then, out of the corner of his eye, something catches his attention. A clearing, just barely visible through the fog, a break in the tree canopy. Tucker banks slightly and dips his wing. The opening reveals a long, narrow strip of ground, straight as a knife's edge, tucked deep within a pine forest. Alongside it, camouflaged netting, bunkers, at least 4 of them half buried, blending into the terrain. He circles once, no flak, no trucks, no movement. But then, through the lens of his camera, he sees it, an aircraft being towed, sleek, unusual. It doesn't resemble anything he's seen before. No propeller. A strange swept-back shape. Another follows, nose pointed oddly downward, almost like an arrowhead. They disappear into the hangars, quickly and quietly, as if rehearsed. It doesn't look like a typical Luftwaffe airstrip. It looks hidden, deliberately so. Tucker steadies the plane, lining up for a slow pass. He snaps as many frames as he dares, marking the terrain in his mind. There's a river bend just west of the clearing, and of a crooked road that seems to lead into the hills. That's all he has. No grid reference, no coordinates, just shapes and shadows. Fuel is now critically low, no time to double-check. He banks hard to the west and climbs through the clouds, setting a rough course back toward home. For nearly an hour, he rides the edge of flameout. The Mustang coughs once, then again, but by sheer luck and altitude, he glides in on fumes. The wheels touch tarmac just as the engine sputters dry. Tucker shuts the canopy and sits for a moment. What he's seen doesn't yet make sense, but it soon will. Back at base, The Mustang is still warm when Lieutenant Tucker is ushered into the debriefing room. His boots leave wet streaks across the floor as he drops his gear and sits across from a weary-looking intelligence officer. The recon film is already being offloaded and developed in the darkroom down the hall. Tucker gives his account plainly. He explains the compass drift, the unfamiliar terrain, the strange airfield near the river. He describes the unusual shapes being pulled into camouflaged hangars. The officer listens but doesn't hide his skepticism. "You're telling me you flew 200 miles off course and stumbled onto a phantom base?" he asks, not unkindly, but with a familiar air of disbelief. Tucker nods. "I got pictures. You'll see the photos arrive an hour later, still damp from processing, edges curling under the heat lamp. The first frames are cloudy. Blurred tree lines, a stretch of indistinct tarmac." One officer chuckles, tapping the image with a pencil. "Could be a sawmill," he mutters. Another dismisses the smudged silhouettes as shadows or damaged film. But one man lingers behind the others. Captain Louis Brandt, a junior analyst with a sharp eye and a reputation for catching what others miss, gently pulls the stack of photos toward him. He squints, leans closer, then he reaches for a magnifier. What he sees stops him cold. In two frames side by side, he makes out a sleek airframe with curved wing roots and a sharply tapered fuselage. No props. No, the wings are swept, angled sharply back, like a diving hawk. The nose cone is bulbous, almost insect-like. He flips to the next image, another aircraft, equally strange, half concealed under netting. He frowns. He's seen sketches in a file marked Project 262. Unverified reports from resistance cells had hinted at a German jet program, but no hard evidence, until now. Brandt rises and walks the film directly to his superior. He doesn't call a meeting, he doesn't shout. He simply slides the frames onto the desk and says, "I think we've found something." The others laugh as Tucker exits the debrief room, unaware that deep in a file marked Eyes Only, a new line has just been added. Possible jet deployment, location, Riverbend, Heiligenberg sector. Quietly the hunt has begun. The name surfaces quietly. Heiligenberg. It comes from the lips of a captured Luftwaffe mechanic, hunched under a tarp in a Belgian POW camp, teeth chattering in the cold. During a routine interrogation, he mentions a forested airstrip somewhere near the Rhine, where aircraft were unlike anything he'd ever seen. No more details, just a name and a direction. But in an intelligence office hundreds of miles away, the word jumps off the page. Brandt, the analyst who flagged Tucker's photos, grabs a map and begins triangulating. He overlays the POW's vague account with the riverbend visible in the recon frames. Dense pine forests, sparse civilian activity, rail access. Everything matches. The pieces are coming together. Heiligenberg isn't just a code name, it's a location. Within hours, high-altitude reconnaissance planes are redirected. Cameras mounted under their bellies scan the region with surgical precision. The photos return strange results. Nestled deep in the forest canopy are shapes that don't belong. Geometric shadows that suggest sunken revetments, bunkers with overgrowth stitched deliberately across their roofs. Nothing reflects. No smoke, no dust, just silence and shadows. The base, if it exists, has been buried under layers of deception. But the analysts are patient. They chart faint tire tracks that vanish under tree cover. They trace thin rail lines that end abruptly at forest clearings. It becomes clear, this isn't a conventional airstrip. It's a cradle for something far more dangerous. Simultaneously, Allied signals teams intensify their intercepts. Bursts of encrypted radio chatter spike near Heiligenberg. Most are nonsense. Dummy transmissions, standard weather reports, but a few reference flight tests. New models, calibration, timetables. One phrase, a to completion by week's end, is repeated twice, then disappears from the airwaves. The analysts believe it's a production marker, a jet nearly ready for combat. Back at the airfield where Tucker's misdirected flight began, orders come down. The recon pilot is grounded indefinitely. His mission, now classified, has triggered something much bigger than he expected. A new operation is underway, top secret. No press, no briefing, just a code name, Blackout. The plan is simple, the stakes enormous. Strike Heiligenberg before the jets can fly, before they can change the air war in the Reich's favor. Bombers are selected, crews briefed, routes planned down to the minute. They'll come in low and fast, hugging the terrain to avoid radar. No second chances, no missed targets. The future of the skies depends on it. The hunt has officially begun. March 30th, 1945. The morning sky is bone white, the wind razor sharp on the open tarmac. Beneath the roar of idling engines, the mood is hushed. No laughter, no final smokes, just tight gloves adjusting flight maps, and bomber crews staring into middle distance. Across the field, rows of olive drab B-26 Marauders sit fully loaded, each carrying a belly full of high explosives. Flanking them are the P-47 Thunderbolts and Mustangs, tasked with escort. The mission's name is scrawled in grease pencil on a blackboard in the ready room. Operation Blackout. No one says it aloud. Lieutenant Tucker, the young pilot who weeks earlier wandered off course and found a ghost base hidden in the trees, stands off to the side, grounded by order. His reconnaissance flight is now classified top to bottom. No mention in the briefings, no credit in the logs. He's a ghost in his own squadron, watching others take off to finish the story he accidentally started. As the first bomber lumbers forward, its engines thundering, Tucker raises a hand, not quite a wave, and lowers it again. He won't be going. Over the next 3 hours, the formation streaks across Western Europe under strict radio silence. They avoid known flak zones, veer around cloud cover, and descend to treetop level as they near the coordinates. The forests below are motionless. No smoke, no searchlights, no gunfire, just a sliver of river winding beneath them and a wall of pine rising on both sides. Then, from the bombers' viewports, the hangars appear, hidden under camouflage nets, scattered between bunkers. The target has not moved. The lead B-26 opens its bay doors. A moment later, the sky rips open. In seconds, the forest is transformed into a churning sea of flame and splinters. Shockwaves crack the tree trunks. Smoke coils high into the air. A handful of jets, already on alert, try to scramble. Me-262s with unfinished paint and uncalibrated instruments. But they're caught mid-runway. Allied fighters cut them down before they can even lift off. By the time the bombers swing west to return, the test facility is gone, burned flat. Fuel depots, machine shops, and nearly a dozen experimental airframes, Me-262s, Arado 234s, others without names, incinerated or crumpled in their shelters. One jet is found hours later in a field, nose buried, canopy open, its pilot having bailed too low. Days later, a German officer captured near the area breaks. He confirms it. The Allies struck the Luftwaffe's most guarded project, the jet future, delayed, if not destroyed, and all because of a compass that pointed the wrong way. Back at the base, there is no ceremony, no speech, no medals. Lieutenant Tucker is debriefed in a quiet office behind closed doors. The photographs he took are filed away under restricted intelligence. His flight log is amended without fanfare. Officially, the destruction of the Heiligenberg facility is attributed to prisoner interrogations and routine aerial mapping. His name doesn't appear in the mission order. His report is redacted and then sealed. But among the reconnaissance crews, those who know the feel of thin oxygen and the strain of low fuel, Tucker's story becomes whispered legend. The kid who found Heiligenberg by accident, they call him. A fluke of magnetism, a set of sharp eyes, and a decision to circle one more time before heading home. He returns to his duties quietly, flies a few more patrols, keeps his mouth shut. He's thanked once by a colonel in passing. Just a nod, maybe meant as a joke. Hell of a compass you had, Lieutenant. Then nothing more. When the war ends, his mission fades into the fog of sealed archives and burned-out airfields. But in one leather-bound notebook passed between analysts, the photos are still there. Grainy black and white frames showing angular jets beneath camouflage nets, snapped by a pilot who was never meant to be there. The Luftwaffe's last hope was buried in that forest, and it might have lived if not for a single needle, drifting east when it should have held true north. Years after the war, visitors to an aviation museum in Ohio pass by a curious relic, a battered fragment of a Me-262 jet. Its fuselage is scorched, its nose cone missing, but a small plaque beside it notes the site of its recovery, Heiligenberg Forest, Germany. Few stop to read the full inscription. Decades roll on. In the 1970s, a batch of once classified reconnaissance reports is quietly declassified. Among them, a faded name appears: Second Lieutenant Daniel Tucker. One report, dated March 1945, carries his signature. Attached is a grainy photo, faint outlines of hangars in the woods, and in one frame, a jet fighter half buried in snow. The caption: "Unusual aircraft, unknown model." Historians piece it together: a broken compass, a veering flight, a photo that stopped a revolution in the sky before it could take off. It wasn't sabotage, it wasn't strategy, it was a single wrong turn, followed by the right choice. And so, the legacy remains. A pilot who never fired a shot, yet changed the course of the air war with one roll of film, and a mistake that came at just the right time.